Okay, so now we're on to unit 2 and we're looking at perfect squares. So we're going to start by doing a little bit of a review. So if I'm looking at this rectangle, what I'm wanting to know is how to find the area. So the area of a shape is the amount of space that it takes up. When the shape is a rectangle, we can measure it exactly by using same size squares. So each one of these squares is exactly the same size. And we're going to count the same size squares as a unit and counting how many squares the rectangle takes up. So what is the area of this rectangle? Well, I can count like this. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And so everybody agrees that there are 12 squares. Okay, now if I was going to, without having to count all of the units, all of the little squares, okay, I could measure this side. So I know that there's 2 there, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this should look pretty familiar to you as well, because this is like back in the day when we used to do arrays for multiplication, right? Okay, so we can make that connection with multiplication, and instead of having to count out every single square, we can go, you know what, there's 2 rows and there's 5 columns, right? So then I just multiply 2 by 5 and that would be 10. So there's 10 squares, right? Now I'm looking over here and I don't want to count all of these out again, so I'm just going to go this side, there's 3, right? And this side there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know that there's that connection with multiplication, and I can find the area of this rectangle just by multiplying the length and the width of, the length and the width of this rectangle. So this would be the length times the width, and that equals 15. And there's 15 squares there. All right, now if I was going to draw these rectangles out, so you have a 2 by 2 rectangle here, okay? I don't have to draw the inside. I know that that's 2 and 2, so I go 2 times 2 equals 4 squares. And then over here, this is a 3, so I'm gonna by 3, oops, a little too long there, 3 by 3, and I'm gonna multiply that out, so 3 times 3 equals 9, and then there's 9 squares. All right, so we're not drawing in all the little squares, right? But we did say that this is 1 unit. And so it is a square unit, right? So how we would actually write this is we have 9, and we name this as a unit, right? But it's not just one side, it's a square. So you have to tell them it's a square, so that's what this little 2 up here is for. Over here, now, I don't really need to keep writing this out like this, right? Because I know that area is now the length times the width. And I also know that it's going to be squared, so that the answer is going to be in units squared. Okay, so I can say it's 5 times 8, and these are both units, and there's 2, right? Because I'm going this way and this way. And that is going to equal 40 units squared. Okay, and this one, it's 1 unit times 12 units, and that would be 12 units squared. Okay, so now let's have a look at when an area equals that there's 12 squares involved. Now, if I was going to make different rectangles that have 12 squares involved, right? I'm just going to do 1 here, and I'm going to start at 1. Remember we had that conversation about working systematically, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I'm starting at 1. Okay, and this is a 1 by 12 triangle, and that would be 1 times 12, right? And that would be 12 units squared, right? All right, now I want you to just pause the video and draw out the rest of the triangle or the rectangles, and then come back. All right, so then I'm going to go to 2, right? So that would be 2 times 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. And there we go. Okay, so this is a 2 by 6. So this would be 2 times 6. And that's again 12 units squared, right? Then we would go. So we'd have 4 by 3. Okay, so that would be 3 times 4 equals the 12 units squared, right? Then I would keep going, and I would find the 4 by 3. And notice when I'm doing the 4 by 3, it is just the rectangles before it. If we look up here, it's just this one here, and it's just flipped. So this is what, remember the word, you've talked about this word many, many times over the years, congruent. So a congruent rectangle or shape is one that is exactly the same size and the same shape. So this is a congruent rectangle because it's 4 times 3, right? So it has the same length and width as the ones above. So, and it's congruent. So we can stop here. We don't need to keep going. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? So it should. If I line up, so I know that the different areas of these triangles are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4, right? And now I write the factors for 12. Okay, look at these here, right? 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. So finding all the different combinations of those rectangles also helped us find the factors, because those are the numbers that multiply together to get 12.